Every character in my game has 6 moves, 7 if you count their assist. Yes, that was a 6-7 joke. You can laugh now. Firstly, let's talk about some work I got done on enemies. I've implemented the ability to follow the player, but as you can see, whenever they got too close to the player, they'd start sort of orbiting them. So I added a distance variable that would make them stop before reaching the player entirely, alongside a tolerance variable that would prevent them from immediately backing away the moment the player moved the muscle. And here's the final result. Now, I didn't really do too much with the enemies, and that's not even the subject of this devlog. I'm just giving a quick update so we don't forget that they exist. Alright, so, assists. Firstly, I made an animation and implemented Yomu's assist, second kick, as an ability. Also, something to note is that although my game is completely centered around crazy combos, I don't plan on making the process of landing those combos easy. There are a few ways that making that process harder, one of them being increasing the gravity of launched enemies each time they're hit. But some moves don't actually do this. Some moves actually decrease launched enemies' gravity. Second kick is one such move, and after making it as an ability for Yomu, I had a little fun trying to see how long I could keep up a combo using it after having completely removed its cooldown. As you can see, I ended a little bit past 100, but I could have totally kept on going if I'd really wanted to. Other than that, I also found a fun little feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature, where when I timed second kick's impact to the moment an enemy wall bounced, they got launched away. So yeah, that was fun. Anyways, having already implemented it as an ability, all I do now was spawn Yomu in while controlling a different character and make him do it. Enter bugs, the bane of my existence. It started off simple. I got the character manager implemented, a manager responsible for spawning characters and handling their assists and tagins. I got the manager spawning 3 characters in, Yomu, Crystal and Fred, and the feeling of controlling all 3 of them at the same time was sort of empowering. So I had some fun with that. But within the absolute flurry of hits I was landing on the poor bamboo enemy, I noticed something. One of my attack VFX had failed to despawn. This happened because I store all my spawn VFX in a dictionary, and I use their time of birth to look them up when it's time for them to be destroyed. Thing is, I can only ever destroy one instance at a time, so if 2 VFX were to spawn at the exact same frame, something which I dismissed as impossible, they'd have the exact same time of birth, and when it came time for them to be destroyed, only one would be destroyed, and the other one would remain. I fixed this bug easily by just implementing a value that grew each time a VFX was spawned, and also reset each frame. I then simply added that value to every VFX time of birth, making it totally unique. Not the most elegant solution, but if it works, it works. I then continued with development. I made it so that only one character could be active at a time, and had other inactive characters get frozen in place when they got deactivated. But lo and behold, another bug. The states of the characters weren't being properly handled on deactivation and reactivation, so I quickly fixed that, only to realize that the states of the characters still weren't being properly handled, only now I'd sometimes have 2 characters listening to inputs at the same time as opposed to 1. 2 steps backwards. But I eventually found that my former fix did in fact work. I'd simply misplaced it a few lines. Luckily, this is where my trouble with bugs ended, and the rest of the assist development was pretty much smooth sailing from there. It really can't be said enough how simple yet annoying bugs can sometimes be. Bugs really do bug me. It's a pun because bugs bug. Never mind. Alright, let's take a look-see at that assist. Now, before I show you tagins, which really weren't a problem after having implemented assists, thank God, I wanted to make it clear how I'm triggering these assists and tagins as I'm playing so we can have a better understanding of why I use them when I do. Basically, to trigger the assist of a character, you need to press their dedicated assist button, C or V on the keyboard, LB or RB on controller, while also being in neutral, as in not moving at all. If you're moving when you press the assist button, you perform a tagging, swapping to the character with an attack instead. This led to me sort of just standing still whenever I sent Yomu out to return my launch enemy with his assist, before continuing my combo from there. Alright, enough yapping, let's see some of that swapping in action. Very impressive. Yes, I know. You may have noticed I've also slightly changed up the map, adding a wall to the right of the low dummy area, as well as adding some lighting, if you can really call it that. I'm really just using the directional light 2D to cast some shadows that darken the player. Also, while we are on the topic of directional light 2Ds, if any Godot devs are watching, please fix the light masks on the directional light 2D. It works perfectly with the spotlight 2D, so the fact that it doesn't work on the directional light 2D is low-key annoying. I've also seen other people comment on the same problem from like 4 years ago. I low-key thought it was just me being dumb at first, but no, I was genuinely getting rage baited by the engine. Fix this, please. Other than that, I also found a bug where when I swapped characters whilst approaching a wall from the right, I'd sorta quantum tunnel through it. I'll have to fix it, but it's not really harming me right now, so I just put it on the to-do list. That's a problem for future Ethan. Well. It would seem we're at the end of the video. Wait, before you go, you ought to consider helping me out by dropping a like. And if you do like my content, perhaps even subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next devlog. Also, if you have any feedback, like at all, you may feel free to write it down in the comments. I'm not that big a channel, as you might have noticed, so I'll most definitely see it. Anyways, that's all for this devlog. Till we meet again.